Hello. I hope you guys are well and that everything is going great on your side. And I just wanted to go over the things that we've done basically for the past week or so. So we've done perimeter and area, and we've done it on irregular polygons and regular polygons. So if I have to ask you what is the difference between regular and irregular polygons, you need to be able to tell the difference between them because they are very different. So a regular polygon is basically a shape that has all the sides and all the angles the same. So for instance, a square would be a regular polygon because all the sides are exactly the same and all the angles are at 90 degrees, whereas a rectangle is an irregular polygon because it has two different lengths. It's got different lengths, so these two would be the same, but the side lengths are different. So that means that it is not a regular polygon. Regular polygons are when they are all exactly the same. So if I ask you about a triangle, what triangle would you suggest is a regular polygon? And you should be able to say that that is an equilateral triangle. So if I give you a right angle triangle, that means that that shape will have to have all of the sides exactly the same, which is impossible. So the reason being, if I give you a right angle triangle, it means that one of the angles is at 90 degrees. And if one of the angles is at 90 degrees, then that means that you will probably have an isosceles triangle or something else, which would then be a scalene if all the sides are different. So you need to keep in mind that if I say, for instance, give you a triangle and it's at 90 degrees, it cannot be an equilateral triangle. Why? Because all equilateral triangles have 60 degrees inside every single angle, and that all adds up to 180 degrees. So something I want to show you quickly, since we are talking about surface area this week, that's the main new section for you. Surface area is basically if I give you a shape that is now not flat anymore, it's now a 3D object. So what happens now is I give you this object and I want you to draw a net sometimes of that object, and from there it's easier for you to tell me the surface area. So the surface area is basically when I ask for all the areas of the surface. That is my cat walking past. So if I ask you for the area of the surface that is on this shape or this object, I need to know if I ask for the area of this square, okay, and I get the area of every square on this entire shape or object, that means that I need to add them all together to create the entire surface area. The same with the rectangular prism. But what I want to show you is something very important to keep in mind. When you are doing a rectangular prism, say for instance you have a matchbox, okay? A rectangular prism can be made up of squares and rectangles. And what happens is it can also have different size rectangles inside of it. So you can have a rectangle here and here. It doesn't all need to be the same size. Just keep that in mind. So say for instance you take a piece of paper and you flatten it around your, I'm basically going through the instructions that are on here. So say for instance you take a piece of paper and you flatten it around your matchbox, you should see that these are basically the sides that you will have. These two will be the same length, the two flaps on the side, and then the two other parts that connect the rectangles, the top and the bottom, they will also be the same size. And then you've got the top and the bottom rectangle. So that means that you've actually got these two surface areas that are the same, different lengths. You've got these two, the red that are, or the purple that are the same, and they are different lengths. And then you've got, so if you look here, the bigger rectangle is 5 by 4 in area. So it's 5 times 4, which means it's 20. And then you've got 1 times 5, that length there, 5, which would be your your smaller reddish purpley color. And then you've got your 4 by, and then 4 by 4. So here's your 4 there. There's your 4 there. Oh no, it's not 4 by 4, 4 by 1, I think. So you will then hopefully, because remember this little part here needs to connect to this little red part here. So the little part of the yellow needs to connect to the red. So that means that they actually need to be the same length, which means that will be 1. So it's 1 by 4. So this will be 1 by 5. So it's 20 in the blue. And then the one in red will actually be 1 times 5, which is 5. And the one in the yellow will actually be 1 times 4, which is 4 centimeters, sorry. So centimeters squared. Then you're going to add all those areas up together. But before you do that, you need to see how many of that. So you've got 2 of the blue, so it means 2 times 20, so it's 40. Then you've got 2 5s, so this is 5 centimeters and 5 centimeters, so 5 times 2, so it's 10. And then you've got 4 and 4, so that'd be 4 times 4 is 16. Wait, what did I do? What did I do now? Oh, 4 times 2 is 8. What am I doing? What am I talking about? Anyways, so it's 4 times 2, which is 8. So then you're going to have the 40 plus the 10 plus the 8, and that's going to give you your answer. So it's about 58. Then, as I can show you here, you've got all those different ways to actually show how to create a cube. So basically, all of the surface area that you are talking about is basically coming down to the nets, and you see how many shapes are exactly the same, and find the area of those, and then you add them together. So yeah, what I want to show you quickly is when I look at this question here. So if I go into here, into the investigation, and I ask you to draw out the shape for me, you can actually see all the parts that are folded and what will actually be the outer side. So it's basically the same thing. If you need to tell the difference between the two shapes, so we've got this one is a cube, okay, because all the sides are exactly the same. And this would actually be, it will either be a rectangle, actually it is a rectangular prism, it's a rectangular prism, and it's pretty similar to the Matchbox. Okay, so what I want you to do is just read through the questions. It's asking you step by step what to do. And the same on number 2, it's exactly the same. With volume, it's very different, which we are going to do next week. Volume is basically, area is the outside of the shape. So it's telling you how many pieces need to be covering the entire object. And then volume is basically how much you can use to fill that object. So volume is pretty much telling you how much that object can occupy, how much space. So if you want to pour water into something, how much water will you need to fill that, say for instance. So yeah, and then I just want to go back because the one question in the problem solving is a bit difficult. So I just want to explain it to you. Let me go back. There we go, area perimeter. There's all your regular polygons and your everything. Okay, and then you've got irregular, and then we've got the problem solving. So for exercise 1, it says, Samantha wants to make a single bed quilt using traditional designs. The single bed dimensions for the quilt are 135 centimeters by 200 centimeters. So that's the dimensions for the entire quilt. So if this was your quilt, that's 135 by 200, okay? The area of each square piece of fabric, so little square, okay? The area of one of them is 1,125 centimeters squared. So that means that this is our entire quilt, so the 135 by 200. And then this is our area So they've given us our area. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to work backwards. So we now need to find the side. So what happens is it says 1.1, write down the formula to calculate the area of the square. So the area of a square is side times side because the sides are exactly the same. So we've got side times side. So instead of writing that, we can actually say side squared. So we've got our area is A equals 2. Let me see if I can write it properly. Might not turn out so great, but let's try. Okay, so we've got A equals side, whoopsies, times side. So instead of writing side times side, we can actually just write side squared. Okay, because if we remember exponents, we have one exponent plus, remember the times means that we're adding the exponents, one exponent plus another exponent, and that's going to give us 2. So that's how we get s to the power of 2. But they said, given the area of the small square piece, we need to solve for s. So we've got the area of the small piece. They told us over here, that is our area. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, that's our area, 1,125. Okay, but what you need to remember is that if we want to get rid of our square, we need to square root. The same as if we want to get rid of a cube. Remember, cube is if we're timesing something by itself 3 times. So if we want to get rid of a cube, we have to cube root. So basically, the root is cancelling out the square. Okay, so the square root is cancelling out the square. So we just have s left. Okay, and what we do to the one side, we're going to do to the other. So if we have to get rid of the square on this side, we have to do the same. So we square rooted that to get rid of the square. So what's going to happen here is we're going to square root on this side. So that means our answer will be the square root of 1,125. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your calculator, you're going to say S equals, and it's going to give you 33, comma something. So if I show you the actual answer, it will look like this. Okay, so if I go to the actual answer, we go in here. Okay, here we go. So we've got our area formula, we've got our square root, 1,125. So that means our S will be equal to 1,125 under the square root. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your calculator. Okay. And you are going to, I'll show you now. You are going to look for that sign over there. It's like a small little tick. Okay, so you're going to look for that sign. You're going to press it. So I'm going to press it. And then I'm going to type in 1,125. Okay, so I square rooted that. And then I'm going to get my answer. So my answer is 33,54. 1 centimeters, but we don't want to leave it like that, so we want to actually just change it so that we have a rounded number. Okay, so we're going to say S and we're going to round it up, so it's going to be 33,54. So we've got 2 decimal places after the comma. So that is the meters, or sorry, the centimeters that is for the one side. So basically what we found out is we found this side over here or this side, because if I have to times them together, so say for instance, okay, say for instance you don't know if you're correct, all you're going to do now is you're going to take, okay, plug this back in. So we're going to say if S is 33,54, right, that means that if I put it in here and I go 33,54 and I times it by the same number, 33,54, I should get a similar answer. So I'm going to go 33,54 times 33,54. Okay, so as you can see, okay, so I typed it in, all right, and then my answer over here is 1124,4,93. So if I have to round that whole entire number up, it's going to become, instead of so that 9 is going to change my answer into 1125. So that means that my answer is actually correct. Okay, so whatever I did here, it should give me that answer, and that's what it did. So it is a more difficult question, so don't stress, but it is something that you need to keep in mind. So instead of now you going and you putting in the numbers, they want you to work backwards. They want you to take the number, take the answer, take the area, and they want you to find out what the length of the side would be. And because it's a square, the sides will be exactly the same. So then if we go to 1.3, okay, so it says, so we've done the 1.2. Identify the type of polygon that describes a single bed quilt. So this single bed quilt, if it is 135 by 200 centimeters, so 135 by 200, it looks like a rectangle, right? Because they aren't the same size, right? So that means that if this is 200, that's 200. And if that's 135, that's going to be 135. So it will be a rectangle. So calculate the area of the single bed quilt using an appropriate formula. So if it's a rectangle, our formula for the area of a rectangle is length times breadth. So we know that our length and our breadth is on top here. It says 135 by 200. So what we're going to do is we're going to go 200 times 135 and we're going to get our answer. And that is what the area of this rectangle will be. So the quilt will be 27,000 centimeters squared. Okay, remember it's squared because we're taking two measurements times each other. So we're taking centimeters times centimeters. So that means that how many centimeters do we have? We've got 2 centimeters. Centimeters, 1 plus centimeters. Okay, so if you have to think about that as your exponents, that's where they're coming from. That's where you're getting the square from. Okay, because you've got centimeter to the power of 1 times centimeter to the power of 1. So that means you're going to have to add the exponents, and that's how you get centimeters squared. Okay, moving on. So if we go to 1.5, let's go to 1.5. So what they are asking us, count the number of squares in the diagram. Okay, so let's count them one by one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, sorry, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Wait, did I do that wrong? Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, I don't know why I counted it wrong the first time. Anyways, so what's going to happen is you can do it that way, or you can go, okay, well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So it's 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 times 6 is 24. So you can do it that way as well. Then you don't have to count every single block. Okay, so you've counted the number of squares. So you write that down. You've got 24. Then it says to you, check how many small squares will cover your area you calculated in question 1.4 to test your answer. Okay, so we calculated the area in question 1.4, right? So that's the area of the entire quilt. So we are going to take the area of the entire quilt and we're going to see if the area of 1 square, which is that, is going to fit in. And how many times is it going to fit in it? So we are taking the area of the entire quilt, which was 27,000 something. I can't remember how much it was. So let me just check quickly. Yeah, 27,000. So we're going to take the 27,000 and we are going to divide it by this number at the top. So we are going to divide it by the 1,125. So we basically, if you look at my answers here, what we've done here is we've taken the area of the rectangle, the quilt, divided it by the area of the small square, which they gave us. Okay, so that means it's 27,000 divided by that, and then we're going to get 24. That means we've got 24 squares that can fit into the entire quilt. So that means we are actually correct. So if we counted 24 squares and we calculated 24 squares, that means that we are correct in general. Okay, 1.6. So it says, if a single bed is 90 centimeters, so now they're giving us our bed. Okay, so now it's not just the quilt. So there's our quilt. And remember, your quilt is usually, in general, your quilt is usually bigger than your bed so that it can cover everything. Okay, so your bed is usually a bit smaller. So let's put our bed in the middle. So there's our bed. Okay, and our pillow. There we go, nice bed. And then our quilt is covering everything. So usually a quilt is used to cover the bottom, the sides, everything. It's basically like to make your bed look very nice and very neat, even if it looks terrible underneath. Okay, and it's kind of like a protection for your bed. So it kind of covers up everything. It covers up your pillows and all that kind of stuff. You can maybe go check that out. I don't know if you want to. Then that means that this is our bed and our quilt is covering everything. So we work out how big our bed is. So we're going to find out the area of our bed. Okay, so we're going to find out the area of our bed. And then after that, we're going to take away the bed's size from the quilt because the quilt is bigger. So if I show you my answers quickly, it's the same thing as what we've done, what I've explained. So we're going to find the area of the bed. So we went 90 times 190 gives us 17,100 centimeters squared. So we're going to take the area of the quilt minus the area of the bed. So we've got 27,000 minus 17, and it's 9,900 centimeters difference. So you're going to have 9,900 centimeters over. So the quilt is just going to be 9,900 centimeters bigger than the bed. Okay, so that's pretty much that. And yeah, so that's pretty much the stuff for today. I do, however, want to show you this. This is a very important part of your surface area. So when you're talking about surface area, remember it's all the size and everything of the entire object. So when you're talking about the surface area, you're always talking about the surfaces. The surfaces are like the faces of the shape. So that is the main thing I want you to keep in mind. Whenever we're talking about the surface area, we're always talking about the number of faces that we see. So what's going to happen is, if I ask you for this, we've got our rectangular prism here. So we've got our, sometimes you've actually got rectangular prisms that have exactly the same size all over. So yeah, so that's pretty much, you get those kind of rectangular prisms. And then you get some that have different sizes, like I showed you with the Matchbox. Okay, so you've got the cube, and that is different to a rectangular prism. Why? Because all the sides, everything on the cube is exactly the same. So something I did make a mistake on in our Zoom meeting, so I just want you guys to keep in mind that I did make a mistake. And I apologize. I really apologize for it. So if you go to the question, where is it? When you go to your, yeah. Okay, so you have to work out this one. Calculate the surface area of each face in B. So that one I did wrong. Okay, so the question's answer that I wrote down is completely wrong. So, oh, it's the wrong part. This one. Okay, so this one is wrong. because I forgot to add a face. Okay, so the thing is, the rectangular prism that they've given you, they've all got different sizes. Okay, as far as I can understand. So I'll just double check that answer. Yeah, they've all got different sizes. So you've got the 85, 110, and you've got the 180. So it is different. I will redo it for you. Basically, the first two is correct. So you've got this, the area of the face 1 and face 2. So these two faces are the same. So you've got this face and this face, which is the same. But then you've got this face and this face, which is the same. And that's going to be 85 times 80. But then you've got another one that you need to keep in mind, which is this face, and this face is exactly the same. So these questions here, let me just show you quickly. So 1.6 and 1.7 is completely wrong. Okay, because I didn't add an extra area. So I didn't add these. Okay, so I just needed to go area of the third one. Okay, which means it's going to also be length times breadth, so you can keep that on. And then instead of 8,5, it's going to be 11 times 18. Okay, centimeters. And then you're going to get your answer. And yeah, then when you get your total surface area, this is incorrect. It's going to be 2 times the area of face 2. And then you're just going to add 2 times the area of face 3. Okay, so I did make a mistake. I sincerely apologize. Pretty much the same answer. It's a bit bigger, obviously. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So just remember, when they have different sides, just keep in mind that, especially with this one, they have different sides. Okay, so always go back. I'll show you now to the matchbox idea. So that's the one that I think will help you the most, especially with a rectangular prism. So just keep that in mind. Let me just remove this. So what happens is you've basically got this shape here with that question. So it is going to be similar. You've got a rectangle there and there that is the same, and those two are different. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It is a bit difficult, but don't stress. So the only easier one that I would say is a cube, and then a rectangular. Rectangular prisms can be also easy if you get the same shape all the way around. So yeah, that's that. And I'm done for the day. Woohoo! If you guys have any questions, you can ask. I don't mind. Something else you can think of is trying to maybe see where you can find all these different types of shapes. You can maybe try and recognize what they're called. So for instance, this kind of shape, your Lindt chocolate. So if you have a Lindt chocolate and you turn it upside down, so like that, you see the face. So this face here, if you count the many sides, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means it's got a hexagon on the top. And the same at the bottom, you've got a hexagon at the bottom. So that means it's called a hexagonal prism because it's got rectangles that connect all of the way around it. So these rectangles connect the 2 hexagons on the side. Okay, that's going to be spoken a bit more about in term 3, but that's pretty much that. And what's going to happen is, ooh, I popped it. Yay. Okay, so it's a bit more like a hexagon now. Woo. So pretty much what happens is you will be getting a shape, and the best idea that you should do is try and pull it apart. So you're going to take the shape and you're going to pull it apart and see, okay, it's made up of a hexagon, and there's a rectangle here and a rectangle, those kinds of things. Okay, so that's kind of what happens. So you pull them apart and then you kind of see what kind of shapes create that, how many faces are the same. So if you look here, you've actually got a hexagonal prism, but you've got different lengths. So you've got the prism here. Oh, sorry. You've got the hexagon here, and then you've got the rectangles. So this is a rectangle, but this is a different length, a different size. Sorry, a different breadth, size, whatever, to this one, because it's smaller. And these are probably the same size. And then you keep turning, and you see that's the same size as the bottom one here. So there. So that's kind of how it works, and you kind of figure out the surface area of all of them. Ta-da! Okay, I'm pretty much done. So I would like you guys to try and see if you can. There should be, if I'm pointing here, there should be a little eye at the top. I'm going to create a little checkbox thing. I want you guys to please tell me what section you are struggling with, that I can try and make more videos on it. And then, yeah, and then I can try and help you. Tell me, you can comment if you need more help on certain things. As you know, you can always message me on Class Dojo or Edmodo, and I will answer you. If you want something more private, if you don't want to have a class session and you would like to rather ask me privately, if there's a question that you're too scared to ask, don't worry, I don't mind answering it. And yeah, so that's why I'm here. So okay, cool. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will figure out what else I can try and do for you. I think I'm going to do more videos like this next week. So especially since next week is a bit more chilled, you're kind of getting to the end of everything. So try and stick to all the work that you should have done by now, so all the activities. Something else you need to just look out for, I'm going to start putting up quizzes on Edmodo just to see like what you guys understand and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we can basically wait and see what happens until week 9, because week 9, there is no week 9 in your booklet, so we'll see what happens. But I'm proud of you guys for making such a great effort during this time to actually work and to at least communicate with me, and yeah, and trying your best even though you haven't got all the resources and all that kind of stuff. So I am proud of you, and I miss you guys a lot, and I know we can't like say hi to each other properly, but hi. Yeah, so I don't really have much else to say, but I miss you guys, and I miss teaching you guys properly. So I'm trying to find new ways, and hopefully this is gonna help you. And if it doesn't, then at least I tried. So you must just let me know, give some feedback, and then I can see what else I can do. But be nice, be nice about my feedback. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Okay, bye.